With more than 6,000 small and micro-cap companies listed, if you're looking for the next Apple at the earliest stage, then channelchek truly is the orchard. The listed companies support channelchek, so it's free for you, the potential investor, to gain access to institutional quality research from FINRA licensed analysts, advanced market data, industry reports, news, and a growing catalog of videos and webcasts. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and register for channelchek so you're always up to date on what's going on at the small and microcap data place. Welcome to the C-Suite series presented by channelchek and Noble Capital Markets. Noble is an SEC-registered, FINRA-licensed broker-dealer and the source of the equity research available on channelchek. Today's interview features Sierra Metals, NYSE American ticker symbol SMTS. Noble Senior Research Analyst Mark Reichman interviews Sierra Metals CEO Luis Marchese. Visit channelchek.com or click the link in the description for Noble's research on Sierra Metals, as well as news and advanced market data. And now, here's Mark and Luis.
So Luis, I wanted to start off by asking you to elaborate on the company's near-term and longer-term expansion plans and when you expect the preliminary feasibility studies to be completed for each mine.
Okay, thank you for the question, Mark. Our current throughput at the three mines is 1,200 tons per day in Cusi, 5,000 tons per day at Bolivar, and 3,000 tons per day in Yauricocha. We should be receiving in the near term the permit to take Yauricocha from 3,000 to 3,600 tons per day. The next stage would be to what we announced in our PEAs as the most probable case, which is doubling the production in Cusi, doubling the production in Bolivar, and increasing another 50% throughput in Yauricocha. As we stand, we are working on the PFSs for the three mines. So in the next few months, we expect to finalize them. As you are aware, the focus on the PFSs is to reach the best layout for each of these expansions and the timing. So it's a bit of an iterative exercise. So we're working on those as we speak. Once we finalize them and we share them with the board, we can certainly share them with the market.
Luis, COVID is still prevalent in Peru and Mexico. How have you been dealing with its impact on your operations?
Well, it's still tough in Peru, a bit less in Mexico, Mark. It's been tough over the last year plus. What we're doing operationally is to try to contain the virus into reaching the operations and trying to keep everybody safe and healthy in our workforce and the communities. And to do that, we have a different strategies, quarantining, social distancing, and all these strategies that most companies follow. But this certainly has brought us into a difficult position because it's been going for long. I mean, we were able to maintain production, but certainly we've had to prioritize, for example, some areas where we've done the development in detriment of others. So what happened in the last quarter, for example, is that we had to mine areas with high tonnage but not so much good grade. So as we speak, we're trying to get back to the right level of development and try to reach our goals for the year. We haven't changed our guidance, but it's certainly having some impact in terms of production and also in terms of costs.
Well, despite the impact, Sierra still managed to generate first quarter year-over-year increases in production. Do you think the first quarter represents a low mark for the year in terms of production, or would you expect production to increase throughout the year?
Yes, I think it's been a low mark. It was a sort of perfect storm. In Mexico, we had almost actually a third of our workforce in Bolivar sick and or in quarantine, so it was really hard. This quarter should be better, and the next quarters we certainly expect to to work towards reaching guidance at the end of the year.
What I have always admired about Sierra is their commitment to continuous improvement. Would you comment on some of the work you've been doing to improve efficiency at each of the mines, including the underground tunnel at Bolivar?
We are currently driving the integration, what we call the integration tunnel in Bolivar. This tunnel is going to connect underground the mines, the two areas where we mine, which is Mina de Fierro and Bolivar Oeste, through a tunnel right into the plant. In the middle, we are planning to install a crusher and eventually use a rail bayer to bring the crushed ore into the plant. So that's going to work very nicely with the expansion. So we are constantly trying to keep our operating costs down in all of our operations, and particularly in this case in Bolivar. In Yauricocha, we are working also streamlining our logistics, our materials movement, by finishing the Yauricocha shaft and streamlining our processes inside the mine. And that should also finish in a better cost profile. Cusi, it's a tough mine because it is deep and it's hot. So we are currently improving the ventilation and the water management, so we can increase the productivity of our workforce and reach other areas where we are targeting higher grades.
I think it might also be helpful to highlight how each mine compares with the industry cost curve and your expectations going forward.
Yes, we did an exercise with CRU last year in terms of where we are. In terms of cash cost, in both Bolivar and Yauricocha, which is 90% of our revenue, we are in the second quartile. In all in, we are slightly above the half of the curve. So for underground mines, is fairly good. I mean, we put ourselves in competition with all the mines of the world, you know, the big open pits in a copper equivalent basis, and we are able to produce at, you know, second quartile, slightly third quartile all in costs. So it's remarkable, and I think we're going to stay there.
And would you remind our viewers of the company's revenue mix by metal and how that might change with your capacity expansions?
Yeah, well, currently we have 30+% in copper, 24% silver, 22% zinc, and the rest is lead and gold. As we expand Bolivar to double and Cusi to double, and well, Yauricocha only by 50%, our share of copper, which is the main metal in Bolivar, is going to increase. And so Sierra is well positioned for the green economy that we are now starting to see coming in very much into our lives as we speak. So in 3 years, we should have a larger percentage of our revenue coming from copper and less on zinc and silver and gold and lead. Having said that, it doesn't mean that, I mean, zinc is still an industrial metal which is very well used, and it's going to be used in the future, as well as silver also has a role to play into the green economy of the future. So all along, I think Sierra has this unique mix of metals which is very well positioned for the future. And let me add that now we're bringing iron ore into our mix. A few months ago, we announced that we are going to bring forward a magnetite project in Bolivar. We are planning to produce around 500,000 tons of 500,000 tons of iron ore fines concentrate at 62%. So that's an added value from our current resources. And so it's going to add into our mix, and I think the whole world is also excited about iron, and we are getting into this excitement as well.
How long had you been thinking about the iron ore processing plant, and what triggered your decision?
Well, it's been in the works for maybe a couple of years or more. The company has been doing testing on the on the actual sub-product that we've been producing from the copper plant. And all along, we were planning to do it. So we've been fixing and reaching it to the project level. You know, iron is a lot to do on logistics. And Bolivar is blessed that we have a train line almost only 50 kilometers from where we are. So the logistics from Bolivar to the port of Topolobampo, that we're planning to use, is already built. Okay, the magnetic separation plant is a very simple plant, and just removing and treating the ore that we're going to put through the magnetic plant is quite easy. So we were doing the processing testing, but now to bring it into production, it should be fairly quick and fairly simple.
Well, and because it's complementary to your existing operations, did that save on the investment costs substantially?
Absolutely. This is an add-on to our current plant, so there is no need for further, let's say, power, water. We are going to work on this new magnetic separation plant, which is not that complex. Fix the road between the plant and the Bahuichivo train station, because we're going to have quite a heavy traffic there, and also improve the size of the Bahuichivo train station, which is the one that we're going to use to take the iron ore to the port. So it's improving. It's a bit of an add-on, and we should get it producing fairly well. As we speak, we have a small pilot plant on the property that we're running. So by the time we have the big plant, we'll be able to operate it, and we'll have everybody ready to operate it and bring the product to the market.
And would you briefly comment on the company's efforts to increase its reserves and resources to support your growing production profile? And where do you see the most promise in terms of exploration near each mine?
Well, Sierra has had a steady focus on growing its resources. So from where we were 10 years ago to where we are now, it's a huge difference. We have over 40 million tons of resources in Bolivar, half of it in Yauricocha, and 10 million tons in Cusi, which is the basis under which we've decided to look at expansions. We still believe that the areas where our mines are very prolific in terms of resources, so we are still drilling and we are still finding additional resources. In top of that, in Mexico, we have over 60,000 hectares of exploration targets, and we are also working on those. So eventually, in the next few years, we expect that one of these targets will show us enough resources to bring them into production. So we are very excited with what we have at our operations, and also what these exploration targets could bring into the mix.
Peru has a presidential election coming up on June 6th. Any thoughts on the election and its potential on the business climate in Peru?
Yeah, well, it's uncertain to an extent. On one hand, we've already elected, I'm in Peru now, we've already elected the Congress. So the Congress is, political profile is very fragmented, but overall I would say it's center right, center left. So it shouldn't, what has already happened, it's fairly good for the country, I would say. In terms of the presidential, we have two very different candidates. Both of them have different views for mining, but you know, when you are in elections, sometimes what you say to the voters is different from what you can eventually do once you're in power. Not that you're trying to lie, but you know, it's different to be in the other position. So I guess we are going to see after June 6th, and once they come into power, what this will mean for the mining industry. Mining is very important in Peru, and it has a lot of potential. So any government that comes into power has to keep that in mind and work with the industry to make the most out of it for the benefit of the people of Peru.
And how would you characterize the company's financial strength and liquidity, considering anticipated capital expenditures?
Well, it's pretty good. Our current plan is that the 3 expansions can be funded through internal funding. Our net debt position at the moment is $25 million. We are cash positive. So in the next few years, we expect to be quite strong and be able to fund our internal requirements.
Luis, going back to our question on the presidential election, I was thinking that the mining industry is such an important part of Peru's economy, and it has continued to perform over the decades despite changes in administrations. Can you think of any time where Peru experienced a change in the presidential election that substantially altered the business climate for mining?
No, not in the last 30 years, Mark. And the production of copper, for example, in Peru has gone from 500,000 tons 20 years ago to almost 3 million tons next year. So it's been a steady growth, and that has been based on a policy environment which has been amenable for this sort of growth. Look, chances that taxes might go up are the same that everywhere in the world. As prices go up, you usually have governments trying to take a bigger cut. So eventually we might get into that sort of discussion in Peru. But other than that, I think this is going to go well. I'm not saying that it's easy to do mining in Peru. We know all the social issues and the infrastructure issues that have been delaying some of the projects. But at the end of the day, the history of production growth in Peru has been one of success, and I certainly expect that to go in the future.
And to conclude, what differentiates Sierra Metals from other mining companies, and why is now a good time to invest?
Well, Sierra has it's a very exciting company. I think we have 3 mines in well-endowed environments, which we have shown. We have a good level of resources. We have low operating costs. And on top of that, Sierra has a history of being able to do expansions at a very low capex intensity. So if you add this equation of having the resources, having a low capex intensity, and having a fairly reasonable operating cost in terms of the overall mining industry, and I would say that we have a supportive board and a good management team, I think we can certainly deliver on what our plans are and eventually grow beyond that. This new era that is coming with the prices that we're seeing and the positioning of the overall industry in terms of where the world is going, Sierra is the right player in that environment.
Thank you for joining us for this C-Suite interview presentation brought to you by channelchek. Visit our YouTube channel for more interview content, as well as virtual roadshows and conference presentation replays. New content is added regularly, so subscribe below to stay up to date. Visit channelchek.com or click the link in the description to access equity research, news, and advanced market data on this and the 6,000 other small and microcap companies listed.